At the start of the drama, a bathroom scene is shown where some boys are washing their hands when suddenly water floods the area. After this, we are introduced to the female lead, named Fang Shui, who says, "I flooded the entire school for a shoe." Now a scene is shown where Fang Shui's result is announced, and she gets 399 marks, while 400 marks were needed for university admission. She goes to the junk dealer to whom she had sold her books and says, "Wait, I have failed." Following this, she gets readmitted to school. The principal arranges a new teacher for the failed students, as no other teacher was willing to teach them. The teacher comes to the class and asks all the students to take out their books. Fang Shui hasn't brought her books, so the teacher sends her home to get them. She runs and bumps into the hero named Wei Lai. Due to falling in the water, her clothes and shoes get ruined. She returns to school and starts cleaning her shoe, which goes down the drain pipe. Her friend suggests a solution. This will bring the shoe out. She tries it. At first, nothing happens, so she thinks maybe she's doing it wrong. She steps outside, and suddenly, the shoe and water come rushing out. The chemical she added floods the entire school. After this, the principal punishes Fang Shui by transferring all the readmitted students to the second campus. When they reach there, the condition of the campus is very bad. A boy comments, "This happened because of Fang Shui's bad luck." A fight breaks out. Fang Shui says, "This happened because of me, so I will take you all back to the main campus." Then Wei Lai enters the school. He talks to the principal, and, on his way out, sees Fang Shui going to the office. He thinks, "I've seen her somewhere." Fang Shui goes to the principal and asks for a chance, saying, "I guarantee everyone's performance." The principal agrees, "Okay, I will give you one chance. Tomorrow your class will have a test, and the average mark should not be below 500. Fang Shui accepts this and informs everyone. They say, "If we were good at studying, we wouldn't be here." A girl asks everyone to study. The next day, a girl tells Fang Shui, "Our average marks can be over 500 if Wei Lai joins our class, as he is the top student in school." Fang Shui replies, "Okay, I will talk to him." In the next scene, Fang Shui approaches Wei Lai, gives him oranges, and requests, "Join our class." He leaves without listening to her. A boy advises Fang Shui. He will agree if you persuade him a bit more. He himself keeps an eye on Wei Lai. He sees Wei Lai collecting insects and tells Fang Shui, "You should gather insects for him." Then he will agree. Fang Shui collects many insects and goes to Wei Lai's class to put them on his seat. The box falls accidentally and the insects spread everywhere. The whole class starts panicking. While collecting the insects, she bumps into Wei Lai's stuff and it breaks. Wei Lai, who had arrived there, asks her to leave the class. Fang Shui tells him, "I will compensate you for this." He responds, "No, why are you following me?" She explains, "Our class needs good marks. If you join our class, our average will improve." But Wei Lai firmly refuses and leaves. In the next scene, Wei Lai is playing in the playground with his friend. Suddenly, other students come and start fighting with him, saying, "This is our place." Fang Shui passes by, and seeing Wei Lai being bullied, picks up the ball and hits the other boy on the head, saying, "I can't watch anyone being bullied." Now, her grandpa is called to the school, and Fang Shui's complaint is filed. Fang Shui stands quietly. She does not say anything about Wei Lai and takes all the blame on herself. Her grandpa says, "It's good that I came here. What are your plans?" Fang Shui says, "I don't want to study." He asks, "Why didn't you tell earlier?" She replies, "I was afraid of Dad, that he would beat me." Grandpa says, "I will handle him, but think about how you will manage a job after leaving studies." Later, the teacher talks to Fang Shui and says, "If you leave school, the class average will go down." She responds, "Okay, then I will not leave school." The next day, they have a test. All the students are sitting in the class disappointed. At that moment, Wei Lai arrives and says, "I have transferred to this class, so I will also take the test." After the test, Fang Shui thanks Wei Lai. When the test results come, the average score is half a point short. The teacher requests the principal, "It's a matter of half a point. Let the students study here." But the principal says, "Rules are equal for everyone, and now they have to leave the school." Meanwhile, the entire class has boarded the bus to go to the other campus, and the bus starts moving. At that moment, the teacher arrives, stops the bus and says, "You all don't need to leave. You can study here. I will teach you." In the next scene, the teacher tells them, "Your uniforms have arrived, so check them." Hearing about the uniforms, everyone gets happy. Next, the hostel scene is shown. Fang Shui says, "I will definitely go to get my favorite Stars album." Her friend asks, "How?" She replies, "By jumping over the wall." In the next scene, Wei Lai receives a call from his parents in the class. "We are close to your university. We are coming to meet you." Wei Lai responds, I will come to meet you, because he had not told his parents about his readmission. After class, Fang Xue leaves to get the album. When she reaches the wall, Wei Lai is also there. He was also about to jump over the wall to meet his parents. Fang Xue says, you are doing this for the first time, so you won't know how to. I will teach you. But before she can, Wei Lai jumps over the wall and gets to the other side. However, when Fang Xue jumps, her jacket gets stuck, and she ends up hanging on the wall. She asks Wei Lai for help, but he leaves without listening to her. A guard sees her and asks, what are you doing here? At that moment, her jacket tears, and she falls down. Later, the teacher talks to Fang Xue and says, why were you doing this? Then he tells her to write a 5,000-word apology letter. He then asks, who was the boy with you? She does not answer. The guard comes and reveals it was Wei Lai, shocking the teacher. In the class, Fang Xue is sitting with her legs stretched out. Wei Lai asks, what happened to you? She replies, after you left, I fell and got injured. Wei Lai receives a message from the teacher. He goes to the teacher and Fang Xue follows him. What punishment will he get? The teacher tells Wei Lai to write a 500-word apology letter. In the next scene, Wei Lai and Fang Xue are arguing about something. They touch each other and both fall down the stairs. Wei Lai places his hand under Fang Xue's head to prevent her from getting more hurt. Then, he leaves to do his work. In the next scene, Wei Lai is looking at the books given by his friend. By mistake, there is an adult book, so he hides it because other students have also arrived. The next day, Fang Wei has cleaning duty. She sees the book and says, what kind of books does he read? At that moment, Wei Lai arrives. Fang Wei says, were you looking for this book? Do you read such books? He replies, this isn't mine. It came by mistake. She says, you are lying. He says, if you like it, you can keep it. Now a student overhears this entire conversation and tells everyone, Fang Xue reads such books. Fang Xue says, this is not my book, but no one trusts her. A fight starts and the principal arrives, who takes the book from them and calls them to the office. She asks Wei Lai to leave and questions Fang Xue, do you read such books? Now Fang Xue's friend tells her, I told the principal that Fang Xue reads such books and I saved you. Wei Lai goes to the office where Fang Xue was telling the principal, this book is not mine. At that moment, Wei Lai says, that book is mine. I mean, my friend's. I had asked for books from the bus and this book came by mistake. The teacher warns Wei Lai, next time don't bring such books, and lets them go. In the next scene, Fang Xue is writing the 5,000-word apology letter when Wei Lai arrives. She thanks him, but he says, no need to thank me. Anyway, that book was mine. He then says, we had to fight for ourselves. If you feel that something wrong is happening to you, you will have to stand up for yourself. The next day in the assembly, Fang Xue reads the apology letter. After that, she gives a long lecture. There is no justice in this school. A student was asked to write 500 words, and I was asked to write 5,000 words. After hearing her speech, all the students clap, and Wei Lai is happy that she stood up for herself. In the next scene, the teacher changes the seating arrangement in their class, so Fang Xue and Wei Lai get seats in the front and back. In the next scene, Fang Xue is cleaning the ground, and she sees the guards watching her video when she got stuck while jumping over the wall. Now she sees that Wei Lai brings a ladder for her. She goes to the class and tells Wei Lai, you didn't tell me that you brought a ladder to help me that day? He replies, I thought you wouldn't believe me. At that moment, a student arrives and tells them, a student with low marks in the exam will be expelled from the school. In the next scene, a classmate brings notes to Fang Xue and says, we will pass if we study these. They both go to get the notes copied, but the worker asks them to copy the notes themselves. As he is copying, he finds the exam paper for the next day. He gets nervous, looks around, and takes Fang Xue outside to tell her about finding the exam paper. Fang Xue gets angry. Why did you bring it? He says, our exam will go well. They leave, but someone overhears their conversation. The next day, that classmate finds Fang Xue in the library and asks her to solve the exam paper, but Fang Xue doesn't know how to solve it. They think of seeking Wei Lai's help. The classmate talks to Wei Lai, if you teach us, you can choose your own bed. He agrees. The next day, the classmate tells Fang Xue that Wei Lai agreed, so she should learn well from him. Now Wei Lai is explaining to Fang Xue. The next day, when the paper is given in class, Wei Lai is shocked. This is the same paper that Fang Xue had saved. He stands up and says, change my paper because I know it completely. Fang Zhou says the same, but the teacher scolds them. Now the exam is happening, and the principal arrives and searches Fang Shui and her classmate. They find the paper, so their parents are called because they are expelled from school. The classmate starts fighting with Wei Lai. You must have told the principal. The principal arrives and separates them. In the next scene, Fang Zhui comes to Wei Lai and says, I heard that he hit you. He replies, he didn't hit me. We both got into a fight, and I got hurt. Fang Zhui starts applying an ice pack to his injury and apologizes. We misunderstood you. He says, there is no chance for both of you to stay here. She responds, maybe there is no chance now. Now the teacher asks the principal, give them a chance. She replies, until the real principal comes, I can't make any decisions. The teacher says, next week there are papers. They both can take those papers. The principal agrees. On the day of the paper, Fang Zhu's classmate brings his and her seat outside, and there they give the paper to prove themselves. Now the main principal also arrives and sees them giving the paper in the sun. Due to giving the paper in the sun, both of them faint. The principal asks the previous principal, why are the kids giving the paper in the sun? She tells them the whole story. The principal says, they will not be expelled from school because they have proved themselves. When Fang Wei regains consciousness, she is in the medical room. She asks Wei Lai about her paper, and he tells her, you have passed, and you are not being expelled from school. She becomes happy. After this, Wei Lai gives her sunstroke medicine, and also takes it himself. She asks, why are you taking it? He replies, I also got sunstroke, that's why. Now some cute scenes are shown. In the next scene, Wei Lai and Fang Shui are shown. She asks him, how do you find me? He replies, you are like hot milk tea to me, which I feel very good holding in my hands. He moves forward to kiss her, but Fang Shui wakes up startled. It means this was her dream. After this, they all are walking on the exercise ground. They have papers stuck to their backs, and they are running. Wei Lai tries to stick a paper to Fang Shui's back. She says, why did you hit me? They argue, and Wei Lai falls. All the kids behind them also fall. After this, the principal advises the teacher, you should appoint a monitor in the class. She talks about a draw where the class whose name comes up will do video shooting. The teacher comes to the class and talks about choosing a monitor. Whoever she asks to become a monitor refuses. Now Fang Shui says, can I become a monitor? She makes her the monitor. In the next scene, she goes to the office and asks the teacher, can I really become a monitor? The teacher says, yes. He tells her about the draw for video shooting. Fang Shui's name comes up in the draw, so she goes to the class and tells everyone about the video shooting. The next day, the teacher informs them about the video shooting and asks them to be ready as it can get hot due to the cameras. Their shooting is shown. As soon as it is complete, it becomes very hot there. The students think about taking a bath, but it is another class's time for the bath. At that moment, a person brings them food, saying the canteen is closed. Now you all have to eat this. Due to the heat, they ask the monitor of that class, we had shooting, so let us take a bath, but she doesn't agree. Fang Shui gets an idea. She buys an ice cream shake for the whole class. The bill is high, so Wei Lai comes and pays for it. She distributes it to the entire class, but there's none left for her. She says, no problem. The whole class drinks it, and afterward, everyone except Fang Shui feels sick. A student says, this happened because of her. Wei Lai feels very sick and falls off his chair. He is taken to the medical room. When he regains consciousness, Fang Shui says, you should drink this ice cream shake. He asks, did you drink this? She says, yes, my whole class drank it. Now Wei Lai is told, all the students are blaming Fang Shui for this. He goes there and says, my illness is not because of her, it's because of the food the school gave us. Now, Fang Shui sits on her chair crying. Wei Lai feels very sad seeing her. In the next scene, the teacher apologizes to everyone. Now Wei Lai asks Fang Shui, will you still be the class monitor? She says, yes. She then says, the teacher said our shooting is going to be on TV. After this, all the students are happy watching themselves on TV. Fang Shui tells Wei Lai, you look very handsome on TV. At that moment, the teacher calls Fang Shui outside and says, you have gotten too close to Wei Lai. Fang Shui replies, there is nothing like that. The teacher says, even if there is, it's good for your studies. The next day, the teacher pairs all the students, one bright student and one weak student, so that you both can help each other. Teacher says, I will give a gift to those who get above 1,100 marks. Now Fang Shui is paired with Wei Lai. Wei Lai says, we need to get above 1,100 marks, but Fang Shui is focused on eating walnuts. He talks about studying in the library tomorrow. The next day, Fang Shui arrives late at the library, and instead of studying, she is moving around a lot. Wei Lai tells her to sit properly. He asks her, how did you solve this? She says, I just guessed. He says, what will happen in the test? She says, maybe more of my guesses will be correct then. In the next scene, they go to the market to get study material. Fang Xue looks at Wei Lai lovingly, but she lowers her eyes when he looks at her. When they are returning, Fang Yue stops at a bookstall and starts looking at books, which are kids' stories. Now Wei Lai is also looking with her. Suddenly, he pulls Fang Yue close because he saw his parents' car coming. Now they are shown in front of his parents. Wei Lai calls her his girlfriend. Fang Shui makes an excuse about studying and leaves with Wei Lai. She says, "You are very brave to hide this from your parents. I can never hide it." Now she thanks Wei Lai. "You helped me." They make a promise to each other. Then Wei Lai's aunt arrives. She says, "I can't hide this from your dad for long. You should tell your dad." Here we find out that the aunt knows everything about Wei Lai and also that his relationship with his dad is not good. In the next scene, a girl asks Wei Lai, "Is Fang Xue your girlfriend?" He denies it. She says, "Stay away from her, she is bad luck." Wei Lai ignores her and leaves. After this, Wei Lai's fangirls pour water on Fang Shui in the washroom and start fighting with her. Now Fang Shui cannot go to the library because of this. So Wei Lai studies on his own and comes to ask her. She says, "Your fangirls poured water on me." He says, "I made notes. You should study them." She says, "Stay away from me, or someone else might pour water on me." He says, "These are all your excuses for not studying. Otherwise, you always roam around with Gu Shang." This means Wei Lai was jealous of Gu Shang. She says, "He is my friend. What's your problem?" They start arguing. Fang Jue makes a bet with him. "I will score 15 more marks than you in this test without your help. And if I get more marks, you will apologize to me in front of the entire class." After this, Fang Shui starts studying very attentively. Wei Lai keeps thinking about Fang Shui and starts seeing her everywhere, saying, "I love you." Now he writes a note to Fang Shui and asks her to come outside. When she comes outside, he says, "I am here only to study. I don't want to get into any relationship." She says, "Are you crazy?" and leaves. In the next scene, Wei Lai says, "Let's end this bet." But she says no, now the whole class is involved in this bet. The next day when she goes to class, she finds notes in her books, which she really likes. She thinks that her friend put them there. Because of studying those notes well, Fang Shui scores the highest in the test. She tells her friend, "This happened because of your notes." Her friend says, "But I didn't give you any notes." Now she checks the handwriting of the notes and finds out they belong to Wei Lai. In the class, everyone tells Wei Lai, "You should apologize to Fang Shui." But Fang Shui says, "There is no need for an apology." Then she thanks Wei Lai. "These marks are because of your notes." Wei Lai accepts the thanks. In the next scene, the teacher tells them about advanced classes, and the students whose names are on the board can take these classes. The next day, the teacher asks Fang Wei to bring some papers from the multimedia class. Wei Lai is shown imagining holding a trophy from that room, thinking it was given to him, and starts giving a speech in front of the camera. "I came here because of my mom." He acts as if there is a large audience in front of him. Now Fang Shui sees him doing this and smiles. While picking up papers, some books accidentally fall, and a button gets pressed, causing Wei Lai's broadcast to start. All the kids watch him on their TVs and smile. When Wei Lai returns, he has become very popular. When he comes to class, all the students clap for him and tell him, "Your video went live." Now in the hostel, people are also talking about Wei Lai. Fang Shui hears the girls talking about Wei Lai. She goes to Wei Lai and tells him, "This happened because of me." He gets very angry. The next day, Wei Lai receives a paper for university admission, which says that those who are good at chemistry can get admission. He talks to his friend on the call. "This rule wasn't there before. My chemistry is a bit weak." Fang Shui hears all this. The next day, they go to take advanced classes. The teacher is teaching chemistry. She asks Wei Lai a question, which he doesn't know the answer to. The class makes fun of him. Now a student challenges Wei Lai, "Score more marks than me." Wei Lai accepts the challenge. After this, their competition is happening, and both are solving questions on the board. Now Wei Lai doesn't know the answer. At that moment, Gu Shang turns off the lights in the whole school, ending the competition. The next day, the principal says, "Someone deliberately turned off the lights yesterday, so whoever did it, confess, or we will find out." Now Gu Shang says, "They will never know it was because of me." The next day, the teacher tells him that his marks are low, so he cannot attend the advanced class. As he is leaving, his class teacher hears this and goes after him asking, "Don't you understand chemistry?" He cannot respond. The teacher says, "Let's see what I can do." Now he asks many children, "What is your dream?" Most of the children don't have any dreams. After this, the teacher tells him, "You are very lucky to have a dream." Then he tells him to go to the school's news agency. There you can talk about your dream. After this, Wei Lai's interview is shown, which all the children watch on their TVs. He says, "I came here because of my mom." Fang Jue listens to him very carefully. Her friend asks, "Do you have feelings for Wei Lai?" She says, "Stop your nonsense. There is nothing like that." In the next scene, cameras are installed in the school, monitoring all students. Now a guard informs the principal over the phone, a girl is writing a love letter. The principal asks the guard to check on the girl. They find out it's Tang Tian. The principal quickly goes to the class and says to Tang Tian, "Stand up straight and give me the letter you are writing." She says, "I am not writing any love letter." The principal says, "The camera behind you told us everything." She takes the love letter from her coat, which insults her in front of the whole class. After this, she leaves crying and locks herself in the bathroom. Fang Zhu says, "Stop crying and open the door," but she keeps crying. Fang Zhu goes to the principal and says, "I want to complain that these cameras are invading our privacy." The principal does not listen to her, so she makes a banner that says, "We are against this system." She puts it on the board and signs it, asking her classmates to sign it too, but no one is ready to sign. Suddenly, Cheng Jing stands up, and then Gu Shang also comes and signs. Now the principal scolds Fang Sui. In the next scene, Fang Sui is thinking in the hostel when a new idea comes to her. She says, "No one will wear a uniform anymore." The next day, she goes to the class and tells everyone. She takes off her coat. After this, Wei Lai and 2 other boys also take off their coats. Now the whole class takes off their coats except Tang Tian, who doesn't think it's right because she was insulted for writing a love letter. After this, they go to the assembly. Everyone is looking at them. The principal also sees them from the window and starts scolding them. Some people go back to put on their uniforms. The principal asks Wei Lai, "Why didn't you go back?" He says, "I am standing with what's right and will not leave them." Now the teacher punishes them by making them run laps around the ground. They are running while the whole school watches, and Fang Hui cheers everyone up. When they return to the room, girls from another class tell Fang Zhui, "We want to join you because we are also against this." After coming to the room, Fang Zhui tells everyone that the other class also wants to join our campaign, but Tang Tian gets angry at Fang Xue and tells her to stop everything. In the next scene, Wei Lai comes to get his coat and sees Fang Xue sitting outside. It is raining as well. He gives her his coat and says, "I heard you stopped the campaign." Fang Xue thanks him. He says, "No problem, return it to me tomorrow." She says, "I am thanking you for supporting us in front of the principal." The next day, their class teacher comes and, after asking them everything, starts removing the cameras. At that moment, the principal arrives and asks, "What are you doing?" He falls down. After this, the whole class stands outside the office. The teacher comes out and they ask, "Were you not transferred?" He says, "I am fine and I solved your camera issue." The next day, the principal tells everyone that we won't remove the cameras, but we will ensure your privacy. And the teacher must apologize to everyone for breaking the camera. Now the teacher apologizes to everyone. He enters the class nervously, but as soon as he enters, the whole class stands up and welcomes him with applause. He gets emotional seeing the love from his class. He says, "I have an announcement to make here." All the students get worried. He says, "This is a parent-teacher meeting party." Now this meeting was on Sunday. Fang Xue calls her dad and says, "There is a parents' meeting, so send grandpa." He says, "He always comes. This time I will come and bring fish for you." Now Wei Lai also calls his aunt and informs her about the meeting. She says, "I will come and won't tell your dad." He says, "Okay." At the meeting, Fang Xue's dad brings fish, but the guard does not allow him to bring them in. Now Wei Lai's aunt arrives and tells him to keep the fish in her car. Fang Xue sees her dad coming with Wei Lai's aunt. In the meeting, Fang Xue's dad talks about her lack of improvement, which Fang Xue doesn't like at all. She goes to the hostel where Cheng Jing tells her, "Come to the market with me." Now Fang Xue is getting pads, and she sees Wei Lai looking at underwear. They both get embarrassed. While going back, he asks her, "Why did you come to the market?" "You are the monitor." She says, "I came because of Dad. He was doing stupid things." Wei Lai says, "At least your dad makes you laugh." She says, "Your dad doesn't talk to you properly." He says, "He remains serious." In the next scene, when Fang Xue returns to the room with her friends, she finds the room very clean, and she realizes her dad came and cleaned the room. He also left a note for her which says, "You are the best, and your dad loves you very much." Now she realizes her mistake. In the next scene, the teacher tells them about the annual function and that anyone who wants to participate can inform him. Now Xiao Yu wanted to participate, but couldn't say anything. During break time, he sits outside looking sad and Fang Xue asks him, "What's wrong?" He says, "I also want to participate in dancing." Fang Xue offers to help him. Now they go to fill out the form and learn about the group performance. Fang Xue gets Gu Sheng and another chubby guy ready for dancing. Now they are practicing dance when a boy records their video. Now that boy shows the video to the whole class, and since he is Xiao Yu's desk mate, he also secretly reads his diary. After this, he bullies Xiao Yu. Fang Jue comes and chases him away. He tells her, "He is bullying me by saying he will show my diary to everyone." Now Fang Jue comforts him, saying, "I am with you." The next day, the boy is still bothering Xiao Yu. So Fang Jue says, "I want to change seats. You go and sit in my place." Now the boy says, "Sir made these pairs. I won't go and sit there." Now she goes to the teacher and talks about changing seats, but he asks her for a reason, which Fang Shui doesn't want to tell. The next day, the principal comes to their class. He asks the students, "If anyone has any issues, let me know." Now Fang Shui stands up and says, "I want to change seats." He asks for the reason, so she says, "Wei Lai has affected my studies. I have a crush on him. If I sit with him, I won't be able to study properly." The whole class smiles. Now Wei Lai takes her outside and asks, "What did you say? You like me?" "But we can't think about this right now." She says, "Don't overthink. It's nothing like that." He asks, "Then why did you say that?" She says, "I can't tell you right now." In the next scene, the boy is bothering Xiao Yu again, so Xiao Yu pours a bucket of water on him. In the next scene, classmates make fun of Fang Shui and Wei Lai's situation. So Xiao Yu stands up and supports Fang Shui, saying, "Whatever she said because of me. Because my desk mate bullies me. That's why she wanted to change the pair. I never stood up for myself, but Fang Shui stood up for me." He then apologizes and thanks Fang Shui. Now the teacher tells Xiao Yu, "We have expelled that boy." After this, they had to bring dresses for the dance. The teacher is teaching in the class when it starts raining. Now the four sneak out of the class. They are running in the rain. Wei Lai watches them from the window and sees Fang Shui fall. He doesn't feel good about it. The next day, Xiao Yu's mom arrives. They are giving an audition when mom sees Xiao Yu dancing and takes him outside, slapping him. She says, "Instead of learning Taekwondo, you are learning dance." After this, Xiao Yu's past is shown. His mom had sent him to learn Taekwondo, but he didn't know how. Now there was a girls' dance group with him, so he learned dance from them. In the present, mom says, "Now you won't dance." He sits very sad. Fang Shui comes, and he tells her that mom has forbidden him to dance, but Fang Shui motivates him, and he agrees. After this, Gu Sheng gets injured while dancing, so they need someone else to dance. She dances, but they reject her. Now she asks everyone in the class. Wei Lai thinks, "When will she ask me?" But she doesn't ask Wei Lai. The next day, Chubby tells Fang Shui, "You should ask Wei Lai to dance." She says, "He won't agree." He says, "Ask him. He won't refuse." Now she asks him, but he refuses. At night, Cheng Jing talks to Wei Lai, saying, "Gu Sheng can't dance because of his injury, but if you don't dance, he will have to." Now Wei Lai tells Gu Sheng, "I will dance in your place." Gu Sheng is shocked and asks, "Did Cheng Jing come?" He says, "Yes," and he becomes happy, realizing that Gu Sheng likes Cheng Jing, not Fang Shui. After this, they all practice, but Xiao Yu's mom calls the principal and tells him not to let Xiao Yu perform in the dance. After this, Fang Shui stands sadly. Wei Lai comes and asks her, "Now you guys won't dance?" But Wei Lai tells her something that makes her excited again. Then the annual function is shown where Fang Shui first reads a poem, and after that, they dance, which everyone likes a lot. Xiao Yu sees his mom watching his performance. She becomes emotional. Actually, Fang Shui had invited her. In the interview, Xiao Yu says a lot about his mom, that she has always supported him. After this, Wei Lai and Fang Shui are cleaning the hall. Wei Lai asks her, "Do you know why I danced?" She asks, "Why?" He says, "Just because of you," and then he leaves. In the next scene, Wei Lai and Fang Jue are placing students' ID cards on the class desk because there were exams. She says, "You look good in this photo." He says, "I always look good." She says, "I was just joking." He says, "Look at your photo. You look so stylish." Now Fang Shui tries to take her photo, and they come close, then step back embarrassed. In the next scene, the teacher tells Fang Shui that her dad is outside. She goes to meet him and brings a bag to the class. She has to go outside for some work. When she returns, all her stuff is scattered and everyone makes fun of her. So Fang Shui leaves angrily. She goes and gives all the stuff to her dad and says, "Why do you give me this stuff?" He asks, "Why, what happened?" She says, "It insults me." Her dad says, "This is our way of earning." Now she is sitting in the class near Wei Lai. He offers her yogurt, but she refuses and turns her back to him. In the next scene, the teacher says that one pair in the entire class has scored above 1,100 marks. That pair is Fang Shui and Wei Lai. After this, the teacher tells them to participate in a competition and makes Chashmish the head of it. Now, no student was going for practice, so Fang Shui says emotionally, "This class is not just ours. It belongs to everyone. If we are going, why aren't you?" So many students start getting up. Now, Wei Lai also joins them. The game starts, and after a lot of hard work, their team wins. The next day was their final match. In the next match, their team loses. In the class, a student says, "Our team lost because of Fang Shui. She is bad luck." Now Fang Shui leaves sadly, and Wei Lai follows her and says, "Don't pay attention to their words." But she says, "I don't care about this." He asks, "Then does it matter because of me?" She asks, "Do you also think I am bad luck?" He says, "Not at all." But Fang Shui says, "I have been told this so many times that I also think I am bad luck. So stay away from me, or you might catch the bad luck." In the next scene, Wei Lai tells her, "We should prepare for the interview we are going to have." Now their interview scene is shown. Fang Jue is asked 1 or 2 questions in the interview, and she leaves angrily. After this, Wei Lai answers some questions. He says, "When I was young, our family's financial condition was not good. People used to make fun of me, but I never tried to change myself." He is saying all this to Fang Shui. Then he leaves the interview midway and goes to Fang Shui asking, "Are you okay now?" She gives him yogurt. He says, "You didn't give me a straw. How should I drink this?" She starts looking for a straw, but he says, "Leave it, I'll drink it later. Let's study now because the exam is coming." In the next scene, Fang Shui is having dinner with her family, and her mom suggests inviting Wei Lai for the next holiday because he helped improve Fang Shui's marks. But Fang Shui thinks her parents always embarrass her, and she doesn't want Wei Lai to see that. She tells her mom, "Okay, I'll invite him." Later, she asks Wei Lai, "Do you have any plans for the next holiday?" He says, "No, I'll be here." Fang Shui gives him her mom's message, "My mom invited you for dinner." Wei Lai says, "Okay," without any explanation, which shocks Fang Shui. In the canteen, she thinks about whether taking Wei Lai home is a good idea. She sees Wei Lai refusing to share his spoon with Moto and thinks, he doesn't even share a spoon. How will he manage at my house? She decides to cancel the invitation. In class, she tells Wei Lai, "I invited you to my house, but now you shouldn't come. My little sister has chicken pox, and I'm afraid you'll catch germs." He says, "I'll come to see your sister." She says, "No, don't come." In a flashback, Wei Lai was very happy about the invitation and was selecting dresses. In the present, he feels sad about Fang Shui's words. The teacher tells Fang Shui that her dad is here, and Wei Lai thinks, "I won't give up so easily." He goes to Fang Shui's dad and asks, "Did she invite you to her house?" He says, "Yes, but she said her little sister is sick." He replies, "She doesn't have a little sister." Fang Shui says, "I was just joking." Her dad says, "Wei Lai, you should come." He says, "Okay, I'll come." In the next scene, Fang Shui sneaks out of the hostel, but Wei Lai is already ready and waiting. They take the bus, and Wei Lai thinks, "I don't know why I feel nervous in front of her." He pretends to sleep. Fang Shui says, "When I first saw you, I thought you were very rude, but now I think you are very nice." Wei Lai hears this, but doesn't show any expression. Their bus breaks down and everyone gets off. They start pushing the bus, and Fang Shui falls while pushing, making Wei Lai smile. She says, "Laugh later, help me up first." The bus starts moving and they run to catch it. The hero helps the heroine get on the bus, and then the heroine helps the hero get inside. They reach Fang Shui's house, which is messy. She asks her dad, "Didn't you clean the house?" He says, "No, I got busy with work." Her mom arrives and feels embarrassed about the messy house. She tells Wei Lai, "Let's go shopping," and he agrees. Fang Shui takes Wei Lai to the market, feeling embarrassed as her mom starts bargaining. They return home, and Fang Shui thinks, if the food is good, it will cover everything. She asks her dad, "What's for dinner?" He says, "Crabs." She feels happy, but when she smells the crabs, they are spoiled. He says, "I forgot to put them in the fridge." He then says, "I'll make noodles with chutney." Now they are shown at the dinner table, and Fang Shui thinks, "I brought him here to eat noodles." Wei Lai tastes them and thinks, "These are tasty." Fang Shui's dad starts talking to Wei Lai and then brings out the crabs, saying, "I made these spicy. Try them." Fang Shui stands up, feeling embarrassed. That's enough. Her mom and dad start arguing, and her mom leaves. Fang Shui follows her. Wei Lai's dad takes him along and says, "When you get married, you will argue like this too, and these arguments are a sign of love." They go to the shop to buy meat, and he says, "I buy low-fat meat so that my wife has a reason to argue with me." After this, Fang Shui and Wei Lai are returning to the hostel. She apologizes, "Your vacation got ruined because of me." But he says, "That's not true. This was my best day." He adds, "I first went to the market with your mom, which was a great experience. Then I saw your parents arguing, and I understood what love is." Fang Shui becomes happy. In the next scene, Wei Lai is lost while looking at Fang Shui. Then he goes to her and says, "Meet me after school. I need to tell you something." Now they both have brought rewards for each other. Fang Hui brings a mobile for Wei Lai, and Wei Lai brings a recorder for her. In the next scene, influenza is spreading in the city of China. Now Fang Shui brings very cold water and Coke. She comes to class, and Wei Lai scolds her. "Why are you drinking such cold Coke?" She is also eating chicken. He says, this fever is affecting those who eat chicken. But she says, my immunity is very strong. Nothing will happen to me. However, Fang Jue gets a fever. Her friends suggest she goes to the doctor, but she refuses. The next day, Fang Jue's nose won't stop running due to a severe cold. Wei Lai says, I told you not to drink cold Coke. Now you have a fever, and you won't even go to the doctor. A student brings a doctor who takes her. After checking, the doctor isolates her because she has a virus. Now Wei Lai tries to go to her, but the principal doesn't let him. Later, other classmates secretly go to meet Fang Shui. Now Wei Lai goes to Fang Shui, but seeing everyone there makes him sad. I wanted to go to her, but I couldn't. He leaves without meeting her. Fang Shui sees him leaving. In the next scene, Wei Lai asks his friend to bring a lot of medicine for Fang Shui. He goes to give it to her. Fang Shui sees the medicine and says, it would have been better if you brought something to eat instead. He says, you are so sick and you still want snacks. I told you before, everyone is worried about you. She asks, do you care about me too? He says, yes. She says, everything will be fine. Sing something for me. He says, you still want me to sing? He refuses, and they argue. Fang Jue throws the medicine at him. I don't want to use this either. Wei Lai leaves. In the next scene, Wei Lai goes to the broadcasting room and sings a song for Fang Shui. Everyone in the school enjoys the song, but Fang Jue's condition gets worse. She faints. After this, they take her to the hospital. Now Wei Lai becomes very worried. Wei Lai insists to the teacher, let me go see Fang Shui. The teacher gives him a permission letter. He goes to the hospital and meets her parents. He becomes very sad seeing Fang Shui. Her dad asks him to bring Fang Shui's recorder. He says, okay. After this, he listens to the voices in Fang Shui's recorder and becomes very emotional. He goes to the principal and says, when the period ends, instead of a weird sound, a song should be played. He even threatens to leave the school. The principal says, you don't need to threaten me for such a small thing. He says, no, if a song is played, it will have a good effect on the students. The principal agrees. In the hospital, the doctor checks Fang Jue and says, she is fine now and out of danger. Her parents become very happy. They give her Wei Lai's notes. Fang Shui is very happy because Wei Lai came to see her. She looks at the notes and finds a letter from Wei Lai. I'm sorry, I wanted to care for you, but I fought with you. That day, I played a song for you from the broadcasting room, but you fainted and went into a coma. I have learned a lot from you. Thank you. Fang Shui becomes very happy after reading this letter. A few days later, she recovers and goes back to school. When the period changes, the same song plays, and she becomes emotional listening to it. After this, all her friends come to see her. Wei Lai also smiles at her and moves her chair closer, asking her to sit. Next scene, the teacher comes and tells everyone that if their class's marks are not good in the test, their class will be divided. If you don't want this to happen, work hard. Now, Moto enters, looking very sad. Fang Jue asks, what happened to him? Later, they find out that Moto's brother died in an accident. Now a student talks about this outside, and Moto goes to fight with him. Fang Jue goes and separates them. After this, Moto leaves. She tries to follow him, but someone stops her. Now Fang Jue becomes worried about Moto, so she and her class start looking for him. Moto is standing on the terrace. Wei Lai and Fang Jue go there and make him come down. He gets angry seeing them. Didn't I tell you not to come up? Fang Jue says, why are you acting like a child? He says, you haven't lost your brother, so you can't understand this pain. He then leaves. After this, the teacher comes to their class and explains that they should understand others' pain. Now Moto returns to the class and everyone treats him normally. Moto becomes happy and starts studying. After this, their class starts studying hard. The scene of their papers is shown. Then Fang Yue is praying to pass the exams, and Wei Lai is watching her. She says, don't worry, our class will be divided. He says, no, and even if it is, it won't affect our relationship. After this, the teacher comes and tells them that the entire class has passed. Now your class won't be divided. Hearing this, the whole class becomes happy. Next scene, Wei Lai and Fang Shui are shown in the rain. He asks, can you forgive me? She says, yes. He says, but I can't forgive you, and leaves her. Fang Shui wakes up scared, realizing it was a dream. After this, she looks at the board and sees that Wei Lai has ranked number 1 and can directly get admission to any university. She sits next to Wei Lai and he asks, what's wrong with you? She says, I am feeling jealous of Wei Lai. He asks, why? She explains, you ranked number 1. After this, the teacher calls Fang Shui to the office and gives her a university admission form. If you get admitted, it will be good. She tells her parents about it, and they are happy. Then in the assembly, the principal introduces a new girl named Yan Xing. She has come to study with Wei Lai. The girl tries to talk to Wei Lai, but he ignores her and walks away. This girl has come for an English interview for which Fang Xue has also filled out the form. She stops Fang Xue and says, "You need more practice in English. I can help you." In the next scene, the girl and Wei Lai are taking a picture, which makes Fang Xue jealous. When Wei Lai comes to class, Fang Xue is solving a question by herself. He says, "I can help you with that." She replies, "No need, I can do it myself." He says, "You don't know how to do it." She sarcastically replies, "We can't study like you." In the next scene, the girl is eating with Wei Lai in the canteen, which Fang Xue doesn't like at all. She leaves without eating anything. After this, Fang Ye becomes even more jealous seeing the poster of the girl and Wei Lai. When she goes to class, Wei Lai asks, "Is your work done?" She replies, "Now studying is useless." She says, "You and Yan Xing should become a couple." Wei Lai understands that she is upset and says, "Don't link my name with that girl. She is not my friend." In the next scene, it's the day of Fang Xue's interview. Other students return from their interviews and say, "The questions are coming from the papers the seniors gave us." Fang Xue becomes happy. When she goes for the interview, she follows what the girl told her. Her interview goes terribly, and when she comes out, she looks at the other notes and finds the same questions she was asked. She realizes that the girl misled her. After this, she goes to the girl and starts fighting with her. She says, "Wei Lai will never like a girl like you." After this, the principal also finds out about the girl's corruption and removes her poster from the school. Now Wei Lai asks Fang Xue about the interview and she tells him, "It didn't go well." Then she apologizes. "I'm sorry for linking your name with that girl." The teacher comes and announces that Wei Lai has been called for an interview, but Fang Xue has not been selected. She becomes sad, so Wei Lai says, "It's okay, there will be more opportunities, and I will always be with you." He then takes her to the terrace where a board says, "Believe in yourself, you can do anything." In the next scene, the teacher calls Fang Xue to the office and says, "You passed the interview." She asks, "How?" He explains, "The student who ranked number 3 gave up, so now you have the chance." She becomes very happy and goes to tell Wei Lai. They both check their admit cards and find that their tests are scheduled for the same date. He asks, "Who are you going with?" She says, "With mom and dad." He asks, "Are you also going with your parents?" He says, "No, I will go alone." Now at home, while packing, her mom says, "You are so lucky to get a chance in the whole school." She says, "Wei Lai also got the chance." She says, "I will ask his parents how he is so good at studies." She tells her, his parents are not going, he is going alone. Now her mom gets an idea and says, "Your dad and I won't go with you either. You go with Wei Lai." Now Wei Lai is waiting for Fang Xue at the railway station. She comes alone and he asks about her parents. She says, "My parents said I should go alone." He becomes happy. Now their seats are opposite each other and they talk using gestures. An uncle sitting with them says, "Here, you two lovebirds sit together." She says, "We are not lovebirds." The uncle gets off during the journey, and Wei Lai sits next to her, and they listen to recordings together. After they arrive, Fang Xue takes her exam. When she comes out, Wei Lai is waiting for her. He says, "My exam was over, so I waited for you to get free." Now they are walking around, and her purse gets stolen. Fang Xue buys 2 identical pendants, and gives one to Wei Lai, saying, "This is a memory that we both were sent here." Now they are in a taxi and get stuck in traffic. Wei Lai checks his purse, and it is also stolen. They get out of the taxi and go to a nearby park where some uncles are sitting. They say, "You don't look like you are from here." They say, "Yes, we are from another city." The uncles drop them off at the railway station. In the next scene, the teacher informs them that both have cleared the exam and are the first students in this class to go to college. But Fang Xue is not happy. When she gets home, Wei Lai calls her. He says, "I made physics notes for you." She says, "I don't need them now." He says, "The decision you made doesn't seem like yours." She says, "Yes." He says, "Think carefully before making a decision." She says, "I'm not as talented as you." He says, "But the Fang Xue I know doesn't follow anyone's lead." She tells her parents that she doesn't want to study this subject. Her mom and dad scold her, but her grandpa supports her and convinces her parents. He says, "Fang Xue can do whatever she wants." Now Fang Xue goes to school and Wei Lai smiles at her saying, "You came." He gives her all the notes and says, "For the next 2 months you will be with me." Fang Xue looks at him shockingly and he changes his words. "For the next 2 months you will be studying with me?" In the next scene, Tang Tian asks Fang Xue for her birth date, saying, "I want to check your star sign." She says, "1st December." She says, The stars say your next month will be very difficult. Wei Lai says, we don't believe in such things. She asks Fang Shui, have you ever celebrated your birthday? She says, no. Wei Lai overhears this conversation. Wei Lai starts thinking about Fang Shui's birthday. He asks Moto, what is the best option for a birthday gift? He says, snacks or anything else? Then he tells him, there is a divine tree here, and when fireworks are lit there, if the birthday person sees them, all their wishes come true. Now an idea comes to Wei Lai's mind. He asks his friend to bring firecrackers, but he brings only one, saying, this was hard to get. Now he tells Fang Shui, look out the window at 12 tonight. She asks, is there going to be a meteor shower? He says, consider it that way. Fang Shui sits by the window waiting, and Wei Lai lights the firecracker, but it doesn't work. He leaves. After he leaves, the firecracker goes off. Now it was also Cheng Jing's birthday, and Gu Sheng had a plan. They are watching TV in a room when Gu Sheng says, I'll be back with something. He leaves and the guard locks the room. Later, a fire breaks out. When Gu Sheng returns, he panics and calls the fire brigade. The firefighters come, extinguish the fire, and shift them both to the hospital. The next day, Fang Shui says, the police are looking for the person who caused the fire. Wei Lai becomes very worried, thinking he caused the fire. In the next scene, Fang Hui asks Wei Lai, can I ask you something? The next scene shows the police arriving and arresting Wei Lai, sentencing him to life imprisonment. Fang Hui goes to see him and faints, but this is just Wei Lai's bad dream. Fang Shui asks him, do you know who started the fire that night? He says, no, I don't know. She asks, then why did you ask me to stay up? He says, for the shooting star. When Cheng Jing returns to school, everyone asks her about Gu Sheng and if they found out who started the fire. She says, Gu Sheng doesn't know either, but the school suspects him. When he returns, he will feel terrible. Hearing this, Wei Lai feels very bad, thinking he caused the fire. He becomes so worried that he goes to the library to check the penalty for starting a fire. The next day, he calls Gu Sheng and asks about the fire starter. Gu Sheng says, I don't know how the fire started. Wei Lai tells him, I think I caused the fire, so I will confess to the principal. Gu Sheng stops him and says, I will say I caused the fire. He says, no, I made the mistake, so I should get the punishment. Wei Lai gathers the courage and tells the principal, I caused the fire. The principal doesn't believe him, so he says, I lit firecrackers. Maybe that caused the fire. Another student overhears this. When he comes out, Fang Shui asks, what happened? The student asks Wei Lai, why did you light firecrackers in the school? What was the need? Fang Shui asks, you didn't light them because of me, did you? He says, no, I lit them for myself, don't worry. This news spreads throughout the school, and everyone starts teasing Wei Lai. After this, the principal calls Wei Lai's father and finds out that Wei Lai is studying without his father's permission. The principal calls him to the office and says, next week your father will come, and you will explain to him. Then it is discovered that the fire was caused by a short circuit, and Wei Lai made a big mistake by confessing. Wei Lai decides to take a few days off and tells Fang Shui, I am taking a break because my father is coming. Fang Shui says, it's partly my fault too, so let's find a solution together. He says, I will come back. She says, if you get caught and your dad pulls you out of school, I won't be able to see you again. Let's face this problem together. Wei Lai agrees. Now Wei Lai's dad comes and misbehaves with all the teachers, then goes to Wei Lai's class and slaps him, dragging him out. Fang Shui tries to stop them, but he yells at her, you are his girlfriend, it's because of you he came here. She says, Uncle, you are misunderstanding, I'm not his girlfriend. He doesn't listen and takes Wei Lai home, locking him in a room. After this, everyone at school blames Fang Shui for what happened to Wei Lai. She becomes very sad. There, Wei Lai tells his dad, I will leave home, but his dad locks him in the room again. Now Wei Lai finds a note from Fang Shui in the pendant, which says, we will stay apart until our expectations of each other match. After reading this, Wei Lai misses Fang Shui a lot. He jumps out of the window, but falls due to a broken rope and cannot move his leg. He screams, and a servant sees him. In the next scene, it is shown that Wei Lai injured his leg from the jump. His aunt says, I never thought you would do something like this. Your dad doesn't care about you. In the next scene, the teacher tells Fang Shui to give a report to Wei Lai. She goes to his house, leaves the report outside, and starts to leave. Then she suddenly stops and says, Wei Lai, if you are listening, I want to tell you that I considered you a friend, and you left without telling me anything. I know you are not wrong, and I don't know if you can hear me, but I want to say that you are an amazing person. I don't care if you go abroad or to Beijing. Wei Lai, I miss you a lot. Then she leaves. Now Wei Lai is sitting on the balcony reading Feng Shui's note but doesn't hear her voice because he is wearing earphones. His aunt comes and gives him the report Feng Shui brought. She then says, "Don't argue with your dad tonight." At dinner, he gathers courage and tells his dad, "I want to go to school to study," but his dad insists on studying abroad. He says, "No, I won't go abroad." The argument escalates, and as Wei Lai is about to leave, his dad has a heart attack. They take him to the hospital. Wei Lai's aunt advises him, "Talk to your dad properly," and tells him the suicide story. He started living again for Wei Lai. Now Wei Lai feels guilty and goes to his dad saying, "I will go abroad, but I have one condition." When Wei Lai returns to school, Feng Wei is shocked to see him. She asks, "Did you convince your dad?" He says, "Yes. Now tell me which topics you don't understand." After this, Wei Lai goes to the principal and gets his transfer certificate signed, apologizing, "I couldn't be of any use to you." She says, "It's okay." Now Wei Lai leaves many notes for Feng Shui. In the next scene, Wei Lai says goodbye to Feng Shui. She asks, "Why are you saying that?" He smiles and leaves. The next day, when Feng Shui comes to class, she finds a letter. She goes to the terrace to read it. It is Wei Lai's last letter. He tells her, "I couldn't convince my dad. I am going abroad. I didn't tell you because I wanted to spend this last day well. My life has become very interesting because of you. I don't want you to miss me. I want you to go to the university you want to go to and live the life you want. I have left your notes. You will find them." After reading this letter, Feng Shui cries a lot. In the next scene, it's Wei Lai's aunt's birthday, and his dad has ordered a cake for her. The aunt says, "Wei Lai, your dad is in a good mood, so talk to him about anything you want." Wei Lai says, "I need to talk to you, but if you don't like it, don't scold me." In the next scene, Feng Shui is studying in class when someone enters, and she is shocked to see that it is Wei Lai. In the next scene, Feng Shui is selling cakes on the street, but no one is buying. Suddenly a car stops, and Wei Lai gets out, saving Feng Shui from falling. He asks, "Are you okay?" She says, "Yes, my life is going well. How about you?" He says, "I'm a businessman and earning well. You have no goal in life." And then he pushes her down. Feng Shui gets up, realizing it was her dream. Wei Lai asks, "What happened?" But she doesn't say anything. Now the teacher is giving university forms to everyone. Wei Lai asks, "Which subject are you going to choose?" She says, "I don't know yet." He says, "Let's study about it in the library and decide which one interests us." Now Wei Lai says, "Recording engineering is best for you. You are also interested in it." She asks about the marks required. He tells her, and she can achieve those marks, but she also needs to take an art exam for it, and she hasn't prepared. Wei Lai says, "You can do it." After this, she tells the teacher about her decision. They say, "Do what your heart says, and you will also get notes during the holidays to prepare." Now she goes home for the holidays and learns that her grandpa is hospitalized. She goes to see him in the hospital. Grandpa asks, "Which subject have you chosen?" She says, "I want to do recording engineering, but I need to take an art exam for it and I'm not prepared." He says, "You will do well. You used to record my songs when you were a child. I have kept them all." The next day, when Feng Shui and Wei Lai meet, she says, "My parents have no objection, but I am tense because if I fail the art exam and the inter exam, I will have to do high school again." Wei Lai says, "Even if you fail the art exam, it's okay. Just take the exam." Wei Lai gives her notes. She says, "You prepared these during the holidays?" He says, "Yes." Feng Shui feels happy. Now Feng Shui starts preparing very hard. She asks her dad for the instrument she will use in the exam. Her dad says, "This shouldn't break, it's your grandpa's." She says, "Okay." The next day she goes for the exam. All the students are cleaning their instruments. Feng Shui also starts cleaning her instrument. A girl takes her instrument and breaks it. During the interview, Feng Shui listens to a different song, and the judges say, "She knows nothing." She comes out. Her exam didn't go well, and she is sitting sadly, calling Wei Lai. He asks her about the exam. She says, "It didn't go well, and my instrument broke. Tomorrow is my practical." That night, Wei Lai brings her a new instrument and says, "I took the room next to yours." She says, "Grandpa's instrument broke. I have decided to only take the inter exam, not the art exam." Wei Lai cheers her up and shows her a dance from his childhood. Feng Shui first cries emotionally, then smiles. He wishes her good luck for the next exam. The next day, when it's Feng Shui's turn, she gets lost in playing her instrument. When she finishes her performance, all the teachers and students clap for her because her performance was excellent. The teacher informs everyone, "The inter exams are coming up, so you should speed up your preparation." Feng Shui sees graduation photos being clicked on the ground and asks everyone, "Who wants a graduation photo?" All the students say, "We all want one." She says, "I will talk to the principal." She takes Wei Lai along to talk, and the principal agrees. Now they all sit for the photo, but the teacher hasn't arrived. The photographer says, "I won't wait any longer. Their photo is clicked without the teacher. When the teacher arrives, he asks, "Has the photo been clicked?" Fang Shui says, "We tried to wait, but they didn't stop." The teacher says, "It's okay. I don't look good in photos anyway." Fang Shui feels bad for not waiting for him. In the next scene, Fang Shui tells Wei Lai, "We will give the teacher a memorable goodbye." Their last day of school is shown. The principal wishes them the best of luck and gives them their class teacher's notes. After the exam, the result scene is shown. Fang Jie checks her marks and finds that she has passed. Her family is happy because she will get admission somewhere. In the next scene, she goes to school to get her report cards. After everyone leaves, Wei Lai says to Fang Shui, "I'll drop you off at the stop." He says, "You are going to college, and you will make new friends there." She says, "Don't worry, I won't forget you." He says, "That's not what I mean. I want to say that you shouldn't fall in love with anyone." Wei Lai confesses his feelings for Fang Shui. She smiles and leaves. In the next scene, 10 years later, it's their class reunion day. All friends have come and are enjoying a lot. After the party, Fang Shui is going home, and her boss calls her to work. He tries to misbehave with her, but she slaps him and leaves. She calls Wei Lai to tell him, but he is very busy, so she hangs up. In the next scene, her boss gives her project to another girl. She says, "I didn't want it anyway, because I'm getting married soon." In the evening, she is sitting at home because Wei Lai has come. After this, she asks him about dinner. He says, "I haven't eaten." She starts taking out food from the fridge, and Wei Lai hugs her from behind, saying, "Did you miss me?" She says, "A lot." She can't sleep because of her boss's behavior, and can't tell Wei Lai either. She gets up to drink water, and Wei Lai is typing something. He is rejecting an offer from South Africa. She asks, "Why are you doing this?" He says, "They are sending me for a year." In the next scene, Wei Lai says, "We are about to get married, so I can't leave you alone. That's why I'm rejecting that project." She says, "You are giving up your dream because of me. I feel very heavy and guilty. If we keep making sacrifices for each other, it won't be love." In the next scene, Fang Shui is shown by the seaside. Wei Lai also comes there. She gives him the South Africa papers and says, "I am also going somewhere for my project, and if something is not right between us, we should give our relationship some space." He says, "No matter where you go, I will always love you." She says, "Okay." Now Wei Lai hugs her, and this is where the drama ends. How much rating would you give this drama, and which was your favorite scene? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the videos.